So I got my cards to keep on track this time. Let's see what happens. Hello and welcome to The Sarcastic Locksmith. My name's Richard Adams and I'm here today to talk about Masterkeying Realities. The biggest thing about Masterkeying, online at least, is that I see a lot of technical stuff, you know, how to create a pin stack, shear lines, things like that. But what I don't see is a cost-benefit analysis of why you should master key, why you shouldn't master key, what you give up when you master key. So, without further ado, there is some of that technical stuff that's going to be important to know, or you're going to be completely lost as I go through some of these slides I'm going to show you. So if you don't know what a pin stack is, or you don't know what a shear line is, you might want to review some of those before we go too much further into this. Or if you'd rather, leave me a comment and I'll recreate the wheel for you. So let's talk about the number of keys in a non-Masterkeyed system. Just generally, how many keys can you get out of a lock? The variables change depending on the manufacturer and the specifications, etc., but the math really doesn't. For our purposes, we're going to talk standard Kwikset for residential, and we'll talk about Schlage for commercial. But we'll start with the Kwikset stuff. Both, I should mention, both have will fit either type basically. Schlage has a residential lock line, Kwikset has a more commercial lock line, but generally speaking, and for the purpose of this conversation, we're going to talk Schlage commercial, Kwikset residential, just to be clear.
Standard Kwikset residential lock cylinders consist of 5 pin chambers, or spaces, of 6 possible depths. A quick and dirty calculation of the possible keys shows a possible 7,776 different keys. Not great considering that's 7,776 different keys on hundreds of thousands of manufactured locks, but considering the randomness of where the lock is installed, not too bad on the surface. However, this number is misleading. Max, or maximum adjacent cut specification, is the physical limit of the depth of each cut and its relation to its neighboring cuts. Here's my crappy drawing to illustrate. This is due to the physical angle of each cut and cannot be easily modified. If the angle is too shallow, the key will either not enter the lock smoothly or cannot be removed easily. If the angle is too wide, it will infringe on part or all of the cuts to either side, also causing a failure. With regard to standard Kwikset, the max is 4. This means that for any cut on a key, the adjacent cuts cannot be greater than 4 depths different. As such, a key bitting of 64262 is valid since no individual cut is 4 depths higher or lower than its neighbor cuts. A key bitting of 64261 is invalid because the cut in the 4th position is a 6 and the 5th position cut is a 1, the difference being 5, which is greater than the max of 4. Clear as mud, right?
So, in a standard Kwikset system, you basically have 7,776 individual keys in a standard 5-pin, not Masterkeyed scenario. However, that is theoretical. That is not practical. It's good to know the difference, and we'll kind of explain that.
7,776 is the theoretical maximum number of keys in a standard Kwikset lock cylinder. With a max of 4, however, we must reduce this number significantly, resulting in the practical possible keys to 1,536. Still not horrible. On average, you'd have to try your standard Kwikset house key in 1,536 locks before you found another lock it would open.
Now that we've seen the numbers in a non-Masterkeyed system, let's take a look at in a Masterkey system. Masterkeying will actually reduce that even more, basically because you're creating additional shear lines within the cylinder. So for our purposes, let's consider a Kwikset system, a master key system, in an apartment complex with only one master key. Now these cuts that I've chosen, I just pulled out of my head, completely random, but I did make sure that there weren't any max violations. So I guess really the question is, how many keys do you think will work in an individual apartment, or my apartment, your apartment, whatever?
Now things start getting scary. Aside from our two keys, the master and the apartment key, there are 16 other keys that will work in this lock. These invisible keys are called cross keys or ghost keys. In this poorly designed system, and again I chose these cuts at random, there are a total of 18 keys that will open your apartment. That puts the odds at 1 in 85 that a random key within the system will work your front door. Add another level of master keying and the odds decrease exponentially. I warned you, pretty scary, huh?
So this master key system is poorly designed, and I mean poorly. Again, I just chose them at random. And so as a random thing, this will give you an idea at least. And it's probably a worst case scenario. Obviously a little more thought would go into creating a master key system than just pulling numbers out of your head. At least I would hope so. Nevertheless, the reason I did it this way was to emphasize 2 points. The first being, for every bit of convenience you gain by adding that master key, you're actually going to lose some security. And secondly, system design is paramount. I mean, you really got to have your eye on the prize to make sure you're getting the best system you can. So let's consider commercial, the Schlage stuff.
Schlage commercial cylinders have depths of 0 through 9 versus standard Kwikset of 1 through 6, and can utilize a 6-pin configuration, that is to say 6 spaces versus 5 in standard Kwikset. This makes a total of 1 million theoretical possible keys. The Schlage max is 7, resulting in a practical key count of 168,070. Assuming a competent master key system, we'll also conservatively deduct 20% for cross keying, bringing the total practical keys to 134,432. Lots better than the standard residential Kwikset, but in a commercial setting, there will usually be more than one level of master keying. For instance, a great grandmaster, a grandmaster, master, maintenance master, etc.
Warning, mind-numbing technical information. So now we're going to talk about a one-step versus a two-step system. Kwikset can use a single-step system. Basically, by a single step, I'm talking about the variances in the plug and the barrel of the cylinder itself, and but more specifically, I suppose, the measurement of the pins that you use in a Kwikset Masterkeying system. To put it another way, the difference between a number 1 and a number 2, or a number 2 and a number 3, 3 and a 4, 4 and a 5, you pick, is going to be about 24 1/1000ths of an inch. That's 0.024 inches. Seems pretty thin. I mean, normally it would be for us, but in lock terms, it's enough of a difference that you can use a single-step system. And by that I mean you can actually have a number 1, say in any given position, you can have a number 1 on your individual key and a number 2 on your master key. So difference being 1, so that would mean a single-step system. With Schlage and with most commercial locks, that's really not the case. In Schlage specifically, the difference between the number 1 and number 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, whatever, is 0.015 or 15 1/1000ths of an inch. It's nearly half as tiny as in the Kwikset. So tiny, in fact, that if we were to use a single-step system on a Schlage and you had a 1 next to a 2 on the pin stack, it would basically amount to In essence, that master wafer, that number one master wafer, which is again 15 1/1000ths of an inch, is so close to the tolerance between the plug and the barrel of the cylinder that if you were to use it, when you went to turn the key, that wafer is so thin it would kind of bind on the barrel and making that key really hard to turn. Obviously, you want to avoid that. So, and how do you avoid that? Well, you go to a two-step system. And again, this is pretty typical for most commercial locks that I'm aware of. In a two-step system, you can't go with a 1 and a 2 or a 2 and a 3, a 3 and a 4. You actually go 2 steps between. So a 1 and a 3, a 2 and a 4, a 3 and a 5. That way you've got a 30 thousandths, and that is certainly tall enough that the key won't work, period. If it's not the right key, of course. So that's good. It's something you need to know, something you need to be aware of, especially with system design. And it certainly, by using a two-step system, it will cut down on the available keys you can use in the system. However, without any preconceptions about how many master keys you're using, how many change keys you're looking for, whatever, it's been my experience that you can get roughly about 64,000 individual keys out of a given system on a two-step commercial system, specifically with Schlage.
So, what about very large systems of hundreds of thousands of different user keys? Manufacturers had to get inventive, and they invented a key hierarchy, which involves different keyways and key blanks that will enter locks of a different keyway than the user key. This sounds confusing, but this chart should help clarify. In this way, we can reuse the same master key system biddings, or cuts, but on a different first-tier keyway. Master keys can then be cut on the second or third-tier keyway, resulting in a system that can accommodate more than 450,000 individual user keys.
So we've talked about Schlage and Kwikset as examples, but these principles really hold true across all manufacturers. Obviously, when we're talking about single step, two step, it's the difference in the size of the pins and the tolerances in the locks. But for the most part, I'm going to say that most residential locks you can single step. Most commercial locks are going to be a two step. But it's important to know that it's not just specific to these manufacturers. The measurements may be, the variables may be, but the principle is still the same. So if you manage to stay awake through all this, comments in the comments section would be really helpful, especially to me. And don't forget to like it if you found it worthwhile. Thanks again, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.